Hi, everybody. This is Martha Creek, marthacreek.com to contact me. My email's there, my phone is there, and I have with me a beautiful, living, loving spirit named Renee that you're going to get to know a little bit about here in a bit as we get into these next mentoring moments with Martha. So as a reminder, if some of you are new listening or watching this, these are devotional interviews, mentoring moments, absolutely dedicated to the conscious evolution of all souls and to inspire and to encourage and to uplift you in whatever form or fashion you're in, stage or phase you're in your humanity. And it's unfolding that there is support here, right here in this moment now, and all around you to remind you that you're not alone in this and that there is support for you. And here's two more examples with Martha and Renee to live that out. So thank you, Renee, for saying yes to this, honey.
Thank you for asking me.
So I don't even know, honey, how we met or when. I know it's been years. And I know when I met you, you had already been at a serious spiritual practice and discipline for decades then, including practitioner training and mind treatments and ministerial training and serving congregations and families and relationships and all sorts of life, full life. And I'm aware just through what you shared with me briefly and without detail until now, that you have had experienced a significant, in your words, dark night of the soul. So thank you for sharing this authentically and bravely, courageously here for me to learn from it and anybody listening from this. So this time, then I love you this morning, honey, to talk about that and the reality of that it's not just a theory, and a little bit about what happened and where you are in it and what you've done, of course, and how you came out on the other side of it, back into the light. So take it away.
Whew. Well, thank you. Thank you, Martha. Let's see, you're absolutely right. I began my spiritual studies in 1994. And after 12 years of ministry and all the traveling and all the speaking and my life completely flip-siding different than the life where I grew up. I'm like a survivor of everything, and a very dysfunctional childhood, very dysfunctional young adulthood. And around 35 is when I think I started studying New Thought, metaphysics, world religions. And I thought I had arrived. I thought I knew. And I was a little bit spiritually arrogant, thinking that, yeah, I got this. And then one day, everything started to unravel, kind of like, when you get a pick in a sweater, and if you don't fix it, and it slowly but surely begins to unravel the sweater, and it's a slow, steady process. And I wasn't paying attention because I thought I knew what I knew. And I'd heard about the dark night of the soul. I thought I had experienced the dark night of the soul. I had had many opportunities in my life to overcome and survive. And that was part of my platform. If I can do it, you can do it. And I was really proud of how far I'd come in life. And then when this happened, I realized that it was almost like a hot air balloon, and all the air went out and I crashed to the ground. I had, if you want to use technical terms, I had a major depressive episode, and I've lived with mental illness my entire life, but I lived with it in secret. I didn't want anybody to know, especially in ministry. Well, what if you know that your minister deals with depression and episodes of mind slippage is what I like to call it. I didn't even realize what was happening to me until it happened. I was in a relationship that completely blew up, and when it ended, I was left with literally nothing. I was on the brink of homelessness. I had no money. I had no food. I had 5 animals, no car. And it was interesting what my mind was doing. It was telling me I had no one. It was telling me that I was completely alone in this world. And I had no one. And the scariest thing when I think back on it now, the scariest thing for me is that in that moment, with everything I knew about New Thought and everything I knew about spirituality and meditation, I could not make my emotions do what I wanted my emotions to do. I couldn't make my mind do what I wanted my mind to do. And I felt like I had been betrayed by spirit, betrayed by the God, the universe, because I'd been such a good girl and I'd given my life over to this teaching and the practice of being in service. And I had this crash of faith. I had the dark night of the soul. It was probably one of the darker periods, in the sense that there's a lot I don't remember. And in all that being said, it was the greatest blessing of my life, the absolute greatest blessing, because what I thought I knew has been washed away. And what I was left with was this brand new slate of, kind of like a brand new baby soul emerging into a brand new chapter in a book. And I got to discover, first of all, that I didn't know anything. And second of all, that I knew enough that I had to go back to basics. You and I were just talking about that. You got to go back, all the way back to basics. And it's been an interesting journey back to, I'm not going to even say back. It's been an interesting journey, the new journey. And it's been about 4 years, and I've taken my time. I've taken my time with self-care. I haven't jumped right back into ministry. I have been very, very disciplined with how I treat myself now, and the things I say yes to. And no is now my very favorite word.
Yeah. Well, let's pause there, honey, because I want to really highlight that.
Okay.
Feature of that. So I'd love you to go back, honey, to, like you said, this was your platform, that you've lived in a mental illness, aware
Yes.
of mental illness, and aware of the tendency of that, and the tendency of the mind to have
Yes.
that, whether that is a psychosis, neurosis, paranoia,
Mm-hmm.
doubt, confusion, and anything that's a flavor of that. It's
Mm-hmm.
no little thing, honey, to say and admit that you've lived with that your entire life and still found a way to navigate around it, to navigate through it, to brush yourself off, the grit, the resilience, the uncommon stamina, whatever's necessary, not to get into even what you actually experienced, a survivor of, in your words, Renee, almost everything. So having not only survived almost everything, but found a way to thrive through that, to not let that define you, and then to be able to stand up and, and then the audacity to think that we can stand up and say, if I can do it, so can you.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely believe that as a survivor, as a thriver here, if I can do this, you can do greater things than these too.
Mm-hmm.
Without saying, and there was a time where I doubted, a time where I didn't think I would make it through, a time where I felt alone, where I was mad at life, mad at universe, betrayed, abandoned, rejected, all of these things that have been conceptual up to now, that we absolutely experience it in mind, body, soul, and spirit, bones and blood, whatever you want to call it, that it was not just a theory with you, honey.
Right.
Think about then, share with us today, me and these listeners, whoever's here, the difference of what you thought was a dark night and the dark night.
Okay. Yeah. Just to go back a little bit, when how far back does my mental illness go? I've often wondered, is it trauma then mental illness, or mental illness that lives through trauma? I'm not certain as to the correct answer, but as a child, I know that I was exposed to a lot of traumatic, devastating experiences that carried through into my young adult life. And I did live with incredible anxiety and panic and depression my entire life, but I honestly attributed it to the life that I had lived. And so I thought that was my dark night. And when I found spirituality, I had this idea that, well, now that I'm spiritual, everything is perfect, whole, and complete, as it is. But when I started contemplating suicide, and it wasn't about that I wanted to actually kill myself, it was that I didn't think I had any value and I had nothing left to give. I was a complete failure, and it would be easier for everyone around me for me not to be here. And so the idea of what a dark night of the soul was the only thing I had to compare it to was the times that I felt like I couldn't do it, and I picked myself back up, put on a happy song, and I charged through it. This time, none of that worked. None of it worked. Nothing worked. And it was the scariest thing in the world for me to feel like I not only was betrayed by spirit, but betrayed by my own mind. And what was so beautiful about that is that I had a roommate at the time who also lives with bipolar, and she was so educational. She's, oh, honey, okay, let's have a conversation. And so I started drawing in around me other people that had mental illness, and come to find out there's nothing wrong with me. I have a mental illness. I want to bring attention to the fact that mental illness, it can be talked about as freely as diabetes in a room. It is what it is, and we take care of ourselves and we learn to live with what's going on in our lives. And so to say that there was one thing that brought me out, I can't say that there was one thing. Were there people that surrounded me that I was authentic with and truthful with, who held my head in their lap while I had my come apart? Those people were there. They checked on me. They brought food. They helped me to take the next steps. And that in itself, that whole community of people who see you, love you, and are there for you no matter what, and they're uplifting you because they see beyond the condition. They see beyond what is being demonstrated. And I love you probably heard this before, it's not the why, it's the what behind the action. I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Well, absolutely, honey. And it's like, even though that's happening, it's like, in some ways, and you said you don't have a memory of some of this, like we're in a different state. And it's like, and you have a living demonstration that there was people there that were not mental health professionals, that were not clued into what was going on or how deep it runs, or to the traumas that also don't make it any of their business.
Right.
Have to get into what are we dealing with here in this patient, other than here's a patient that could use a bowl of soup. Here's a friend that could use somebody to put a lap for her head to go on for a few minutes here, until there is space given to this to say, this is going to take whatever time it takes. And I speak with people regularly, actually every few weeks, that's afraid of depression, that's had depression, that's afraid they'll go into an abyss, that they'll be annihilated, that they'll go into a place where they'll never come back out of, that it'll go far and so deep they will not return out of it. Now, they have no direct experience of this. There's not been any, just like you, there's not been any that they didn't come out of. But this stigma around mental health and the powerful thoughts of suicide and other things that they have had and navigated and learned how to, one way or the other, deal with, manage to give them space and not let to not have it take over yet. So any words like that you would have, honey, to encourage people and how you manage this betrayal of your mind, the betrayal of, and what you're clearly depicting here, as I saw that I can't control the mind. I do not control the mind. I do not control emotions. And most of us got very strong messages at a very early age, and not to mention what we came in with.
Right.
Feelings are not okay. It's not okay to have feelings. And There's no room here for them. In whatever family we grew up in, that's true to some degree for everybody. Like
Yes.
some feeling that's not okay. So then we did our damnedest as little kids to control them. And then one day we see this is not to be controlled, no different than we would not believe we can control a hurricane or a tornado or a drought or a flood. And then in these high righteous spiritual arenas that some of us live and exist in, there's people under belief that they absolutely can control a hurricane and that they will demonstrate that. And it's like, then God bless you, go on and do that. And if you can do that, do it in a hurry. So we'll be done with all of that. And, go ahead and stop the wars and stop the mental illness and stop all suffering in humankind if you're so powerful. But for those of us that's met our reality that says there's things I cannot control, and no amount of mind treatment and no amount of prayer and wailing and crying and whatever else ensued changed the experience that I was having. And that's as I know it, that's as it unfolded. So where, honey, is the bridge between this spiritual practice and saying a prayer, doing a mind treatment, and accepting that there's things that's going to happen beyond your control, and you're likely not going to like it a darn bit. And it's going to be beyond anything you've ever seen as uncomfortable. And then how to meet life, how to get up each day and not dread what might come. And not
it's
happy about it. And I've got to some way have a framework that I can look through to say, I'm not going to live whatever days I have afraid of what might blow through the door here.
It's super powerful. That question is, how do you get from there to here? I've always had this, and I think this is classic for anyone who lives with mental illness, is there's a determination in us that we're not going to let life get us down. We're not going to let it win, whatever it is in our mind. And for me, it was about a decision. It was a decision. Am I going to give into this, which I could, and, just make baskets for the rest of my life? Or am I going to scratch and claw and fight my way back to the light? And that was a decision. And every single day I had to continue to make that decision. And sometimes that decision was an impossible thought because I didn't know where to start. How do you go from here to the top step? You don't. It's one step at a time. It's one decision at a time. It's today I'm going to get up and I'm going to actually brush my teeth. And that has to be good enough for me today. And each day you add on activities that help you to feel empowered. And for me, I made a commitment to another person who said, I'm going to stand with you. I will hold your hand. I will walk with you through everything, but you have to promise me that you're going to stay in this life and you're not going to commit suicide. And I said, can I think about that for a minute? And I had to honestly think, well, do I have another comeback in me? Do I have another start over? And I honestly did not believe I did. And I made that commitment and I said, yes, I promise you. And she says, it's not going to be easy, but I believe in you. You can do it. And I'm an alumni member of a group that is called This Is My Brave. And it's about being completely authentic and transparent about mental illness. And it's about telling your story, because telling your story, you show that you can go from absolute disaster to thriving, and that it's just a story. It's just something that happened. And the one thing I learned on the spiritual path is that everything is going to change. Nothing is permanent. And we can have a little meltdown over every little thing that shifts and turns, or we can say, okay, this is happening. How is this true for me? How can I be in this? What am I making this mean? How can I show up in this differently? And it's kind of like a toolbox. I have like this little toolbox of things that I do every single day to keep me on a path of peace And for each person, it's going to be different. Mine is, I love to like blast music and then I just dance around. And there's something about music that always shifts me from that, oh, I'm pitiful and nothing, I'm not good enough for anything. And I still have that. I still live with that. I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have you. I have the opportunity to speak about this and to collect community around us to where we can support each other, just like you do in any of the 12-step programs, or as you do in spirituality. You have people that you go to when you say, you know, I'm having a day, I'm not thinking right, and they can speak a truth about you. And that in itself is the most powerful thing, is when I see the light in your eyes, that you see me in a different way than I'm hallucinating in my mind, or I'm disaster fantasizing. That brings me back to, well, maybe this isn't true. Maybe I am enough, you know?
It's
So,
powerful to hear again, honey. And I love that these eyes are a place for you to see that and to reflect on yourself. And I've heard it over the years that people would say comments like, I didn't believe it, but I believed Martha believed it.
yep.
I
Yep.
couldn't see it, but I can see that she saw it. So there was a glimpse there, honey. These are doorways though. And these eyes as an example of a portal to something that's been shut off or shut down in me under these very powerful beliefs, honey, that we've inherited, that's been going through the human experience since the recorded history of
Right.
I'm good enough, I'm a failure, I'm flawed, there's something wrong with me, I can't do it, I don't have it in me, I'm all alone here, and that there's just nothing new. So any of you listening, just know that it's as normal as can be. You're as normal as can be. And these beliefs hold power in that they haven't been questioned. And that to the degree that we can question these, and I hope if you'll even rewind this a little bit and hear what Renee just said about, is this actually true about me? Is this actually true? That's a profound question. And how else can I see this? How else can I relate to what's happening? Not how can I change what's happening? How can I relate to what's happening differently?
Yeah.
What commitment can I make to myself? And these little steps, like brushing your teeth today, will sound little to somebody, or even little to you when you've got an uncommon stamina to get a lot done in a day. But when you've not had it in you to brush your teeth for a week or a month, then brushing your teeth today is a mighty big step, a mighty big first little step. So I bow to you for taking it, honey, and for the accountability of having a partner, an accountability partner that says, okay, now I'm in it with you. You're not alone in this, and you can see that. And I'm going to be calling you up to take some responsibility too. And whatever in you, bow to that again, honey, that could absolutely see what you can do and can't do. And I stopped you a minute ago, just as you was going to get into the critical importance, the essential nature of what a solid, clear, honest no means for your own soul's care, for your own spiritual self-care, not to mention for the effects that it has when we're able to do that, the effects that it has on family, relationships, health, profession, career, and everything. That'll be another little podcast interview maybe, but go back to that now, honey, what that meant to you in your own recovery and your own becoming.
Thank you for asking that question, because one of the things I realized about myself is that I call it my Jesus complex. I thought I could do everything and be everything to all people. And in doing that, I lost myself. And I then through the awakening, I realized that the reason I did that was because I wanted to be loved. I wanted people to like me, to love me. And it's because I didn't believe that I was enough. And so in order to receive love, I did actions. I cared about people. I hugged people. I showed up for everything. And in doing so, I lost myself and I was untrue to self. So now I've given up the need to please everyone. so very powerful. I've given up the guilt that I'm not enough and I'm letting someone down. I lovingly believe that now through my actions, I am witnessing to someone who needs the permission to say no in their life. And I'm a living example of what's possible through no, and the peace that comes through that, the surrender to the moment. It's so incredibly powerful not to feel guilty. It comes up every once in a while. I'll get that little guilt switch flipped. My mom can really flip my switch. And but then I go, you know what? I'm not hurting anyone by being myself. And it's so powerful to know who you are, to know what you need, And I heard someone say this, is that the only person that can keep your boundaries are you. There's nobody out there who's going to respect your boundaries, because they're yours to continue to draw and to put out there. And so no is a very, very powerful thing. Even if you just want to sit on the couch and, contemplate your toenails, it's really okay to do what is best for you without an explanation.
Absolutely, honey, which it's like explanation is defense.
Yeah.
Explaining is defense, and that's what creates the stress of it.
Right.
It's even what they may try to guilt us, not just try, but guilt us, or shame us, or pressure us, or manipulate us, even charm, which been mine, so charm and charisma. I'd be more apt to fold my honest self, my more solid self, by somebody gushing appreciation at me, or acclamations at me, instead of, if anger or threats or something like that. I'd be more apt to fold to the. But it's like, even in those times, to say, I've got to pause to put some kind of discernment in here, which what is honest for me. And if I was not seeking, which is how Byron Katie says it, if you can check out thework.com, it's great resources for anybody if you want to check that out, that are seeking love, seeking approval, seeking appreciation, is where the stress is. Then the second we don't deliver, and we've taught them that we would do this. We've taught them that we'll go to the ends of the earth, that we'll work harder than anybody, so that when we start to set boundaries and or set limits with people, it's not going to be popular, because they don't know who they're dealing with here. Now we're a different person now, so it's naturally going to be alarming to them, which is going to amp up the attempts to get us to go back, to revert to the formula that they know, where our buttons are. So it's no little thing to be able to define ourselves even a little bit with an honest no. And that'll be another topic for another time. And yesterday I heard Sunday, one of my colleagues shared it as, I got in touch with my holy no.
Ooh,
my holy no.
Holy no. I love that.
Use it and know that there's an honest yes is a yes to me and a yes to them. Because if I give a dishonest yes, I'm going to be resenting them and back into my own illness. So then I've not served anybody by giving a dishonest yes.
Right.
And holy no is also a yes to my own soul. Yes to my own well-being, which is therefore a yes to the well-being of the relationship, because I'm not going to turn right around and blame and shame and guilt somebody else for what I did for them.
Right.
So, all right, honey, if you want people to reach you or know how to contact you, this organization that you're familiar with, was it your Brave?
That you can't contact me through that, but that is something that there's videos out there.
Recording, just put out anything here on the recording that you want to share, resource wise, or how to contact you, or anything that you want to offer here. Put that on the recording. Okay.
Well, you can definitely reach me through Messenger on Facebook. You can email me at reneeleboa01.com. I'm all over Facebook. I'm working on a YouTube page. I'm working on some mentoring classes, opportunities, and here comes Booger. This is Booger, his tail. And I am available for any questions. And I encourage you, this is my message to everyone, question everything, be authentic, and know that no matter what is going on with you, you're enough. You're so beautiful. And I see that, and I see you, and I see all of us as this huge, large, amazing community pulling together to, some of us are pulling each other up and some of us are shoving each other up, but we have to do this together. It's so very vitally important. And I look forward to hearing from anybody that has any questions.
Oh, thank you. That's Renee LeBoa, ReneeLeboa 01 @gmail.com, Renee LeBoa, or on social media, Facebook, and through Messenger that way. Thank you so much, Renee, for spending this time and sharing this part of your journey, and absolutely the radiant light of reality and potentiality that shines forth in you, honey. And God bless you as you uplift. Know that it's multiplied and offered back in your own uplift. And I am witness to it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your mentoring moments, the way you're living out your mission and vision in the world. Mine, as you know, is to serve those who serve. So if you're hearing this, that's what I think and believe about you. And you can contact me anytime, marthacreek.com, for my email, or my phone number is right there. Blessings till we meet again. Mentoring Moments with Martha. Please share this with anybody that you believe would be benefited by it. All blessings. marthacreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.